Welcome to part two, Gerry. You there, Gerry?
Sorry, Russ, I was on mute there.
You
Sorry
there?
about that. I'm here, mate. I'm here.
What do you think to Joshua going missing with Dubois rematch?
There's only one thing you can really say about that. Even though he's got that rematch clause, he knows. Well, he's scared, isn't he? He's afraid. Because I think he knows what's going to happen to him. And I think somebody like him should have the sense to know how to deal with somebody like Dubois, but because he's certainly got the attributes, but he doesn't have the mental side of it to overcome that. And he just seems to shit himself anytime um, somebody flattens him, same way Ruiz did, because we all seen what happened with that. So, in my opinion, AJ knows he's going to get beat there, so he's ducked that and went for potentially more lucrative fight with Fury and less likely to get knocked out.
Do you think that they're just wrapping AJ up in cotton wool at Fury big money?
Yeah, yeah, because he probably was a bit gung ho to begin with. Probably got beat and had a chat with Eddie and said, triggered a rematch clause. Let's go, and I'll do this again. And Eddie's probably went, have a think about it. This could be a better option to wait for the Fury fight. So that's Eddie then obviously kind of steering him in the right way, making sure that he doesn't just sort of walk into another brick wall and get blasted out of there. Because by doing that, sort of, they're able to extend what he's got left, um, as long as they can, because the road is probably coming to an end with AJ, as you and I know. So how to extract the most amount of cash, do the Fury fight. Do you know what I mean? So if he sticks him in with Fury, makes most sense. Um, and obviously there's more money to be got from that at the end of the day.
Yeah. What do you think to the doctor, the Asian doctor that were involved with Conor Ben?
He's gone missing, right?
Well, he's the guy who's been advising Dennis McCann, apparently.
Oh, I didn't realize this. Unbelievable. So that's the same guy then who's been advising him. That's unbelievable. But that's not the first time, as far as I know, that doctor guy has been involved. Was he
He was involved
involved
with
with
Tyson
Fury in the
Fury, wasn't he, at
fight?
one point?
That's right. Yeah. Well, there you go. Doctor Doctor Steroids. Doctor Steroids. There. I didn't hear about that, Russ. So that's interesting. But I thought that guy went absolutely off the planet, disappeared. So he's actually crept into another boxers kind of team, and who knows? Got him doing X, Y, Z, and here we'll have another failed dope test from Dennis McCann. I think I heard a quote from that doctor, or somebody repeated something that he said, and it was he's all about that doctor's all about masking and being able to get athletes using whatever drugs, and then supposed to be good at covering it up, using masking agents. So he's obviously not he's obviously not that good, because this is multiple fighters now that have been caught whilst he's been associated with them. So it says it all, really.
Well, it's what we don't know that's going on in it because everything's shrouded in mystery when it's busted, isn't it? It's all like private and confidential, and it all seems to go away, doesn't it? And nobody wants to talk about it. And I think that's what's turning fans to UFC. That's my opinion, and the statistics prove it.
That's a good point, but to me, are all those UFC guys not roided off their nuts as well, like Conor McGregor and stuff? Do you know what I mean?
Will they?
Someone's probably gonna call me out on that because I don't really know that much about UFC, but I don't think UFC's drug testing is as strict as boxing. But
No?
I see your point, mate. I see your point.
Yeah. Who would you like to see Joshua in with for this warm-up fight that they're also talking as well? Even though we know they're going to go straight for Fury if they can.
Oh
Who would
my
you like? I mean,
God, a
going
warm up fight.
to be on a loser to nothing, Joshua, because if it's anybody around about the top 25, he could get beat very easily. It'd be a 50-50. Is that fragile? Or does he just go a complete knockover and get hammered by media? Where does he go now?
Um, I just a name popped into my head there, literally because this particular guy I'm thinking of was beat, and it was a bit of an upset. Um, and I reckon that would be hilarious, banana skin for Big Meech to fight this guy. If he fought someone like Sanchez, and they picked Sanchez on the fact that he doesn't seem like he's all he's cracked up to be because Cabiel did him. That would be hilarious. But I wouldn't mind seeing that. That would be interesting one to see because that guy Sanchez does have skills. So it'd be interesting to see what Big Meech would be able to do with somebody like that. Who else?
Eddie Hill's talking
Um,
about J.O. Patia fighting Usyk.
Not sure how I feel about that. Um,
Heavyweight, heavyweight.
no, I don't think Opataya should move up. I've said that before. I think that's just
Could
people.
ruin him, couldn't they?
I think I 100% agree. Because the cruiserweight obviously is that sort of division where I personally like the cruiserweight division, right? But let's face it, it's not the glamour division. And even though there's been really like some good periods in the cruiserweight division, it's not. It's still not that division. So some people are saying, are probably looking at that like Opataya is now he's on he's on the end of people's lips because they've seen him in the Saudi shows. So they're thinking, who's this guy? He looks like a psycho and he's a tough customer, you know. Um, but they're kind of going, who do we match him with? In the cruiserweight division, that's going to make any sort of an interest. What are they going to stick him in with Ramirez for all the belts? And they're probably thinking no one gives a toss about that. So they're looking at that like, well, we could stick him in with bring him up to heavyweight and stick him in with somebody a little bit lighter, and who's you're going to end up making the joining the dots up and basically arriving at Usyk because he was even a former cruiserweight himself. But I don't think that's good, man. I think Opataya should just stay in the cruiserweight division and clean up and forget about forget about sort of stupid accolades. Just be proud of what his achievements in the division he's in, and don't worry about the glamour. You know what I mean? Just do the business, and you'll be remembered by the fans as being a true champion and a great competitor who cleaned up the division that they were in. Um,
Would you be
so
surprised if Usyk retired, Gerry?
I I would like him to retire us.
Would
Um,
you?
Yeah, I know you watch Hatman and stuff, so I'm sure you've probably seen some of his things where, I sort of agree. I want him to ride off into the sunset. unless he gets a couple of unless he gets a couple of fights just to sort of extend his heavyweight record and then rides off into the sunset. But there's just that sort of possibility that there could be a banana skin somewhere along the line, and he ruins the perfect record, or someone
I think
does him on
age
the
will catch him.
cards.
I think age will catch him, Gerry.
So he's coming 30th in January 17th, which is Muhammad Ali's birthday. He's coming 30th. Um, I think he's in great shape. Andy said he didn't think Usyk looked um, too slow, or he didn't look like he's turned old overnight. Right? I agree on that. But I mean, it goes without saying that he obviously is in decline, even if it's not obvious to me or you or whoever. It mightn't be that obvious just yet, and I don't want to see him decline. I don't want to see him decline. I sort of, if I hadn't seen any of those videos I was mentioning before, I might have went, yeah, go after Dubois and get another few scalps. Whereas now I'm kind of thinking it would be beautiful to go out on top and with that perfect record. It you couldn't sort of put all the pieces together as perfectly as that. So I just worry about that, because I would hate him to say have a close fight with someone and get robbed on the cards, and then there's a blemish, because in the heavyweight division we've only ever had the one unbeaten world champion, so it would be amazing to have another one.
Yeah, well, do you
So
know
just
why
for the
Marciano were unbeaten? Because he had injuries and that, then he had to stop playing, didn't he? Stop fighting.
sorry, did you say Marciano? Yeah,
Marciano were undefeated, but he only because of injuries he had to quit, didn't he, boxing? Otherwise, he would have been beat.
yeah. Marciano inevitably would have run into just somebody bigger and stronger and younger, and you know um, that would have seen an end to that unbeaten streak. Like, so, a lot of people sort of look at Marciano and think he'd just be a load of old men and whatever, but I still admire him anyway, because um, well, he was just really unbelievably tough. Um, so what you're saying is correct. He probably would have eventually got beat if he stuck around. Um, Little did he know that his record was going to be looked at like as impressively as what people do look back, because he was unbeaten and stuff. But this is where you kind of just don't want to push your luck too much, I think. And even though I totally still believe Usyk has it in the heavyweight division. Do you see what I'm saying? Somebody he could fight Dubois and say it goes to points or whatever. He could end up getting stiffed on it, and then it would just have that sort of blemish. And for what? For a guy he's already beat. So riding off into the sunset's perfect way to end it, I think. Um, and he's obviously got his faculties as well. So there's just I don't know. I don't want to be a chicken with this type of thing, like. But I just would like to see him go out perfectly.
You think Usyk's dealt with them all over here? Joyce, Chisora, Bellew, Dubois, Joshua, and Fury twice each. He's not really bothered about our fighters, is he? Really?
No, but I don't think I don't think he's. I don't think he's
Unbeaten.
looking at the British guys and thinking I must beat all the British guys. I think it's just because there's obviously a lot of British guys in the division who were, um, you know, regarded as decent opposition or names, big names. Do you know what I mean? So there is people saying this about the lack of heavyweight wins for him. So he could stick around potentially for another couple of years and fight another handful of the top 10 guys. Say Dubois, Cabiel, um, Hergovich, Zhang, Parker. He could do that, but I mean, you know, he's 38, like, and he could end up getting old overnight. You know what I mean? That's how it goes sometimes. But I don't think he needs to. I don't think he needs to because he's taken out, for lack of a better description, he's taken out, say, the top two cash cows in the heavyweight division. Um, he doesn't he doesn't really need to backtrack and go and fight some of the guys beneath. I don't think he does. I don't know if you do or not, but I'm sure some people think, well, now go and fight the other guys now who are kind of queuing up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all a bit. I don't know. Usyk for me is an all-time great in any era.
He is. Do you want to see him? Do you want to see him continue, Russ? Do you want to see him have another
I want to
handful
see
of
him
fights?
deal with that Dubar nonsense just to put Bricktop in his place. And then I'd like to see him disappear because there's nobody else for him to fight. He's done Joshua Fury, they've done Dubois twice. Wilder, it's no good fighting him now. He's a busted flush, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, that would be a horrible fight to watch because yeah, Busted Flush is right, and Usyk would run rings around him and embarrass him. Do you think that we're only talking about the Dubois thing though because he's been handed that belt?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So Usyk can be two-time undisputed, but I don't see John Coffey beating Usyk, do you?
No, but this is where I just get nervous, and I'm like, I wouldn't want something to go wrong
Well,
if
you
he
mean
does
like
fight him.
drafting him on points or something?
Just something stupid, Ross, like that, yeah. Or you
Stopping
know,
dodgy
wasn't
stoppage.
the wasn't the yeah, exactly, yeah. Like it wasn't the first time Dubois hit him in that fight, the first fight with a low blow, was it? He was warned beforehand. I could just see something stupid happen. I'm obviously just fortune telling and being negative here because I would be worried that the great achievement would be sort of hindered a little bit. But just wouldn't want to see something like that happen. I thought going into this Fury fight, this second Fury fight, Usyk would be the A side, and Usyk would have all you know, the um, the he can call the shots basically. And then it dawned on me the closer we got to it that he's still being treated like a second class, the second rate guy here, which is totally, absolutely disrespectful. But that was just the reality of it. So he was the B side again going into it. So I wouldn't want him to go into the Dubois fight and then just get shafted somehow, be it this stoppage, a dodgy stoppage, or decision, because it doesn't look like Usyk's team seems to be able to pull that much weight in terms of getting people to do things that might be slightly more favourable towards them. But that makes anything Usyk does then all the more impressive because
Yeah, of
he's had the
course, it
card.
don't get any favours, do they?
No favours, mate. Cards constantly stacked against. It's incredible. That's why it's incredible, man. He's done everything. He's done it all on the road. Never fought in his home country in any of these big fights. And what a guy, like, and he seems to thrive as the underdog, Um, so yeah, just take my hat off to him because that's not easy, and we all know the likes of Joshua or whoever, they really cling on to fighting in front of a home crowd type of thing. They need all that sort of comfort because they just do not have the balls that Usyk does.
No, Usyk's not frightened of anybody, really, is he, Gerry?
No, and he's a real inspiration that way. Imagine having that strength, mental strength. You could you can see why he's achieved what he's achieved. if I think I heard correctly, he was a pretty good footballer when he was a kid. You know,
Yeah,
if he didn't, that's true, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
If he had have been a footballer, he probably would have made it to the Premier League or something. Do you know what I mean? He probably would have been international, and Czech Republic used to have a really good football team. Why am I
Like
saying Czech Republic?
Shevchenko type.
Ukraine. No, he probably would have done really good as a footballer. So he's just he's just blessed with that fantastic sort of mental ability where you know I don't know, he's like the Terminator, Russ.
Well, he don't mess about, does he?
He doesn't mess about. He's polite. He's respectful. He's funny. He's amazingly talented. What's not to like about the guy?
Yeah. Dave Allen and Elmer Fudd. What do you make of it?
Well, I obviously had Dave Allen winning. Um,
Had time to think about it and digest it all, and you've seen everybody's big opinions on it. What do you think?
no one, as far as I've seen, had apart from Elmer Fudd's dad. No one, no one that I've seen has said Johnny Fisher won that fight. So, I mean, everyone saw that was a Dave Allen victory. And I mean, it sort of comes down to the knockdown. I think really separating it. And then there's maybe sort of 5 rounds, um, 4 rounds for Fisher and the rest for Dave Allen. So, you know, it was a bit of a brawl. Would I want to see it again? I wouldn't mind watching that again. But I've heard negative things coming from Dave Allen, like he's not wanting that fight and stuff. And I think that's the only real option for him. And it's the only real option for him as well to make a little bit of a statement, get his name back being spoke about, and maybe he's never won a title, right? So he could maybe try and get himself in line for domestic title. So um, why does he not want to take that Fisher fight? I don't know. You there, mate? Russ, if you're chatting to me there, I can't hear
Mate. Yeah,
anything.
you were saying, mate. Sorry, you were saying, mate. Go on. Sorry, mate. I was
Sorry,
having a
mate.
bit of sound there. Sorry, go on. You were saying.
All right. I mean, it's the only real option I see for Dave. And I mean, it's just he wanted to be messing around, kind of fiddling his way through fights just for an extra couple of quid.
Got to
You
have a
may as
proper
well.
solid name, Annie Dave, to get his head into a camp, Annie, really.
Yeah, you know, imagine how good he would have been in that fight. He would have had Fisher out of there if he was fit, Russ. And you
Yeah,
could
yeah.
see he was old man in his way through that because if you watch him in the first 4 rounds, he just was like waiting for his moment. And I know that's what he did, but it sort of backfired on him, didn't it? Because well, he didn't win. So imagine Dave was fitter and was getting his share of those rounds, the first few rounds. It would have been conclusively, had to been scored in his favor, and he would have made kind of Eddie Hill's new kind of gimmick fighter look silly, and he would have walked away with his name then above the Johnny Fishers of the domestic sort of heavyweight scene, and then he would have got a crack at something else. So that's why I want to see him sort of focus himself and come in a little bit fitter next time and get the job done. And saying that though, Johnny Fisher, that was a hell of a learning curve for Johnny Fisher
He
because
got
he's
through
never
it, to be
worked.
fair to him, didn't he, Johnny Fisher? He showed balls, didn't he?
He did, mate. He did, and that's where like the whole pantomime shit with his dad and the Bosch thing. We all know that's bullshit, but I respect. I did not think he was going to make it through. Like I thought he was going to fall over. So he did all the right things and he hung on, Russ. So I respect that. I respect that. Fair play to him.
Yeah. Ben Davison coming out saying he thought Tyson won. Bricktop said Oscar De La Hoya told him that Tyson won by 4 rounds, but Oscar in an interview said that Usyk won comfortably. So what do you make of all that? Bricktop building armies.
I'm kind of curious as well about that. I believe that De La Hoya has obviously said he reckon Usyk won. I'm just wondering, did was De La Hoya just messing Frank about, or did he just say that to his face to keep him happy? Because we all know Oscar De La Hoya is a complete or nutcase. Um, so wouldn't surprise me if he just said that to kind of mess Frank about, so he could have a laugh later on at when Frank finds out that he actually didn't agree with him, because I can just see steam come out of Bricktop's ears. Um, but at the same time, you know, why didn't he just tell it to him straight? Because I think Frank needs to be convinced. He needs to be convinced of what happened and that his man was taken to school. Um, Ben Davidson is just obviously wants to be Tyson Fury's boyfriend, so I can see why he's done it. And I think that's really shit as well for a young up and coming trainer. He's been mesmerized as well, Russ. He doesn't need to be like that. He's a trainer. He needs to forget about. He used to be Tyson Fury's trainer. He needs to forget about that, mate. But he just seems to be completely obsessed with a lot of other people, and I think that's really sad. I seen something a video where after the fight and press were kind of chasing after Tyson Fury, and Ben Davidson was by his side pushing these guys back, and I was like, you're not even part of his camp. What's that all about? That's very very strange. You wouldn't have seen Angelo Dundee doing that for, you know, Gerry Corey. That's after the Ali fight. You know what I mean? Crazy stuff. It's very very strange, mate. Very strange. Never seen that before with a trainer.
Yeah. What do you think to that Moses Itauma? Do you think that they might be rushing him?
Yes, I think. Um, well, okay, so he's not being rushed right now, but they could. They need to lose. They need to lose that idea about the record. And I know some people want to see it happen, but this guy's potentially got greatness in him. You know what I mean? He's potentially could be very very successful because he's very very talented. But again, as I've mentioned before, plenty of talented heavyweights just they sank to the bottom. So it's all about, you know, making the right choices in your career and doing things properly, and not succumbing to temptations outside of the ring and stuff like that, or getting addicted to the fame, or like we all seen what happened with Tyson and stuff, and then you lose sight of the goal and what you're supposed to be doing. So Itauma has definitely got this potential. So they just need to play the cards right and carry on a decent trajectory. They don't need to fast track him into anything stupid or ridiculous, because it could backfire and go tits up, or we could end up seeing Itauma get um, his lights punched in by somebody who they weren't just expecting to do a number on him, and it'll backfire. It could backfire. Like I give it, David Price, for example. Tony Thompson wasn't meant to knock out David Price, and he ended up doing it twice in two fights. So no one's seen what a Thomas chin's like yet. So do the right thing, steer the fella in the right direction, and forget about silly novelties like being the next youngest heavyweight champion, beating Mike Tyson's record. So nurture that talent. in the best way possible, I reckon. And we could see a very dominant guy in future potentially.
Well, he put that geezer to Kip, didn't he, in round one?
Yeah, felt a wee bit sorry for McKean. He seems like a nice fella. I'm not saying he's fantastic or anything like that, but big fella, and I would have loved to have seen some rounds. Would have loved to have seen it get the halfway point at least. Um, but Itauma was like a greyhound, just the speed in which he delivered that. And that's incredible. That is incredible. So he's come in heavier in that fight. I don't think that's necessarily a requirement that he needs. Maybe they thought going in against such a big guy, they needed the extra weight. But you've mentioned this already, Russ, about the whole weight thing, and then how we've had this trend of massive heavyweights since say beginning of the 2000s, and they're basically pulling, oh, who's this big tall fella? Get him down the boxing gym because he's a big tall fella. We'll turn him into a boxer, and I don't think that's necessarily the way to go. And I think the quality of heavyweight boxing declined after that became a thing that people were fixated on. So we don't want to turn Itauma into a big lump where he can't move because the speed that he's got and that the movement and agility. I loved seeing him a couple of fights back. I remember watching and I was like, this guy is up on his toes. I was like, I like that. Do you know what I mean? I like that because you see the same thing with Usyk. I,
Yeah.
I love that about the guys back in the day. They were up on their toes. They were like cats, but they could still knock you out. So Itauma reminded me of that, and I don't want to see him turned into a rustling Shagayev, just a big lump that can punch. I love seeing a guy with agility and movement. It's a lot prettier to watch.
Yeah, it is. Okie dokie. Well, listen, thanks for coming on, Gerry.
No problem, mate. No problem.
Good laugh, and we've wrote righted a few wrongs. All right then, mate. Listen, you have a great evening.
You too, mate. And hope your Christmas was
Cheers,
good.
mate. Cheers, mate.
Take it easy, mate. Bye bye.
Right. Well, that was Gerry from Ireland. Love him, men want to be him. That's about it, boys and girls. I'm absolutely coward. Pop, pop, bang. Chat tomorrow.